You're just in time to join us for another exciting Bible story about David and King Saul. Uncle Dan, in your last story, you told us about David's fleeing from Saul and going to King Achish, who was king of the Philistines.
That's right, Aunt Sue. After months and months of being hunted like a wild beast, David had become very discouraged. He doubted that he would ever become king, and without seeking counsel from God, he decided to look to the enemies of Israel for protection. This decision was almost fatal.
What's today's story about?
It's a most unusual one, found in 1 Samuel chapters 27, 28, 29, and 31, which I call
The Battle of Gilboa.
Now King Achish had given the city of Ziklag to David as a home for him and his 600 men and their families. While dwelling in this isolated town, David made raids upon the Geshurites, the Gezrites, and the Amalekites, all of whom were foes of Israel. He left none alive to carry the tidings back to King Achish. But all the while, King Achish supposed that David was warring against the people of Israel. He was sure that David was won over completely to the cause of the Philistines.
David has made his people, the Israelites, to utterly abhor him. Yes, David shall be my servant forever. With his help, I should be able to win a war against his people and destroy King Saul.
To all appearances, David and his band had come to settle permanently in the land of Philistia.
But someday, David, King Achish will get wise to what you're really doing on these raids. Or he'll expect you to help him fight our people, the Israelites. You haven't forgotten that God has chosen you to be the next king of Israel, have you?
No, Abigail, I haven't forgotten.
People are saying you have, David. Coming here to Philistia, the most bitter enemy of Israel, for protection. God certainly didn't command you to come here.
I had no choice in the matter. My men and their families, even you, all were at stake. We couldn't keep moving around from place to place forever.
But God is well able to overcome all...
I don't want to hear any more about it.
Yes, David.
Oh, I'm sorry I was cross, Abigail. But you were right. God didn't command me to come here. Perhaps I shouldn't have... Oh, see who that is, will you, dear?
Yes?
I have a message for David from King Achish.
I am David.
The king commands your presence at his palace immediately.
King Achish?
It's very important that you come.
Yes, messenger. Long live the king! Long live the king!
Arise and come forward, David. David, I have decided to declare war against Israel. Understand that you and your men are to go out with me in the army.
Yes, your majesty. You shall know what your servant can do.
I knew I could depend on you, David. I will make you my bodyguard forever. Have your men here, armed and ready to march at sunup day after tomorrow.
God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, I, thy servant David, am in trouble. I know that I should not have come to Philistia without thy bidding, and I've deceived Achish into believing that I and my men are the friends of the Philistines and the enemies of Israel. Now he's commanded me to join him in battle against my own people, O God, against thy people. But I cannot, I will not fight against my brethren. Yet, for the time being, until you show me what I should do, what course I should take, I must march to war with the Philistines. O God, I pray forgive me of my sins and mistakes, and show me how I may separate myself from these Philistines.
Ambassador from Egypt, I shall consider the proposal of your king and let you know. You may withdraw.
Thank you, your majesty. Long live the king!
Yes. Abner,
Yes, Your Majesty.
who's next?
A messenger from King Achish, the Philistine, Your Majesty.
What does he want?
He wouldn't say, Your Majesty. He insists on delivering the message to you in person.
Do you think it might be a declaration of war?
It's possible, Your Majesty. While we've been busy hunting David and his men, the Philistines have been capturing much of our outlying territory.
How many men do they have in their army now?
I don't know, Your Majesty. We do have reports, however, that David and his men have joined forces with them.
Are you sure of this?
Quite.
That miserable traitor! How dare he fight against his own countrymen? I'll show in that heathen Philistine. Let me hear what he has to say.
Yes, Your Majesty. The messenger from King Achish to see his Majesty Saul, great and mighty, King of Israel.
You may come forward.
Long live the king!
State your mission.
Achish, mighty king and lord of the Philistines, sends this message unto Saul, great king of Israel. I do hereby declare war upon the Israelites. 5 days from this day, I and my army shall be camped at Shunem, there to engage the armies of Israel in battle. Signed by Achish, king of all the Philistines.
Is everything in readiness, Joab?
Yes, sir. Men, weapons, everything.
Good. How do the men feel about marching to battle with the Philistines?
Well, sir, none of the men have voiced their opinions to me, yet I have good reason to believe they're not too pleased about it.
Well, call them together, Joab, in the General Assembly area. I'll talk to them.
Yes, sir. Men, soldiers, quiet, please. Your leader, David, future king of Israel, wishes your attention.
Men, we've been through much together, from the cave of Adullam up to the present. We're bound together by mutual desires, ambitions, hopes, and fears. We're about to join the Philistines in marching to war against our own people, the Israelites. Now I know as well as you do that it's not God's desire that we fight against our brethren. Therefore, I promise you that we'll not actually take up weapons against the armies of Israel. However, we must march by the side of the Philistines. Just where our cooperation with them will cease, I do not know, but it will. We march to Gath in exactly 1 hour.
Come forward, David.
Long live the king.
My general tells me that you and your men are camped by the city walls.
Yes, your majesty. We're ready to march with you to Shunem.
I'd like to witness Saul's reaction when he knows that you're going to fight against him on my side.
He's probably already been informed of that, your majesty.
Yeah, probably. Well, David, you're a true friend, a great man and soldier. I'm glad you're on my side.
Thank you, your majesty.
I'll have my general take care of food for your men. You will eat with my officers.
Thank you, your majesty. Long live the king. Long live the king.
On the march to Shunem, a distance of around 90 miles, the lords of the Philistines led the way, while King Achish, with David and his men, bring up the rear. Eventually, the Philistines and David make camp on the plains of Shunem, while King Saul and his army pitch camp on the slopes of Mount Gilboa. Only a few miles separate the two camps. The situation for David and his men has not changed. Yet he's determined to remain true to his own nation and people, though just how he does not know.
Lords, princes, captains, and soldiers of Philistia, on the morrow we do battle against the Israelites. Tomorrow every man of you with spears and with swords, with arrows and with horses and chariots shall fight the Israelite dogs, until we have once and for all defeated Saul and his armies and driven them off the face of the earth. The gods of Philistia will be with you. So fight, men! Fight!
Your Majesty, may we have a word with you?
Yes, General. What may I do for you and your fellow officers?
We want to inquire of you, what are these Hebrews doing here?
Hebrews?
David and his men.
Why, David is my servant, my friend. Ever since he joined me, I have found no fault in him. Certainly he is a valuable addition to my fighting forces.
He hasn't proved himself.
Just what do you mean, hasn't proved himself?
Just what I said. In the heat of battle, he may turn against us.
Not David.
He shall not go down with us to battle. Did he not slay our champion, the great Goliath? And is he not the same David about whom the women sang, Saul has slain his thousands and David his 10,000s?
Yes, I'll admit that.
Your Majesty, we do not believe that David will fight against his own people. In battle, he will turn on us and inflict greater harm than would the whole of Saul's army. We will not have this man among us. Send him back to Ziklag.
I'll talk to David. David, I have a delicate subject about which to speak with you. You know, David, that I'm your friend, don't you?
Of course, Your Majesty.
And that I consider you my friend.
I'm honored, Your Majesty.
As surely as your God lives, David, I haven't found a single thing wrong with you from the day you came seeking protection. Nevertheless, David, the officers of my court don't think... well, they're not your friends like I am. It's just that my officers and princes don't want you in the battle tomorrow. To please me, will you and your men return to Ziklag in the morning as soon as it's daylight? Will you, David?
I humbly submit to the wishes of His Majesty. At sunup, we shall return to Ziklag.
Thus David's prayer that he would be relieved of his duty to fight against his own people was answered. The snare in which he had become entangled was broken, and he was set free. Now the Philistines were encamped at Shunem, while Saul and his forces were assembled on the slopes of Mount Gilboa. As the day drew to a close, King Saul, looking down from the top of the mountain, gets a commanding view of the Philistine army nestled at the base of Moreh, some 4 or 5 miles away. As he gazes upon the Philistine host, he is afraid, and his heart trembles greatly.
Long live the king! You sent for me, Your Majesty.
Yes, Abner. What do you think of it?
Think of what, Your Majesty?
Do we have a chance against the Philistines?
I don't see why not, Your Majesty.
They far outnumber us.
We've been outnumbered before and won. And remember, O king, it was on this plain that lies before us that Gideon, with only 300 men, put to flight the hosts of Midian.
Well, if we were up against just the Philistines, I'd say yes, but David is on their side, and God seems to be with David, while he has forsaken me. I can't fight the Philistines and God.
Then there's only one thing to do, Your Majesty. Get God on your side.
Oh, you talk like an idiot. How can I get God on my side? I rejected the counsel of his prophet Samuel when he was alive. I have exiled David, the chosen of God, and I have even slain the priests of the Lord.
Need Saul, the son of Kish, be reminded how to solicit God's help?
Oh, all right. See that I am not disturbed until I call for you.
Yes, Your Majesty. Long live the king! Long live the king!
Oh God, I come to thee now, in the time of my trouble, for help. Show me what to do, that I may utterly rout the host of the Philistines. Show me in a dream exactly what I must do.
But the Lord answered him not by a dream.
Send a prophet to me then, O God, to show me the right course of action to defeat the Philistines.
But the Lord answered him not by a prophet.
Then send one of thy priests to me with instructions from thee, O God.
But the Lord answered him not by a priest.
Abner, do you happen to know where there is a woman who is a medium?
A sorceress, your majesty?
Yes, one who can answer questions by a familiar spirit.
But, your majesty, the law of Moses clearly states that sorcerers are to be put to death. And by your own orders, these persons have been killed.
I know. But surely some managed to escape. Find one near here, that I can go to see tonight.
But... yes, your majesty. Long live the king! Long live the king!
Abner, did you find one? A woman with a familiar spirit?
Yes, your majesty. There's one at Endor, living in a cave.
You're sure of it?
My information is reliable.
Do you know how to get there?
Yes, your majesty, but she won't see you. You're the king. She'd be afraid for her life.
She won't know me. I'll remove my royal robes and dress like one of the soldiers. Select one of your best men, one who can be trusted. We'll start for Endor at once, the three of us.
Yes.
And hurry. I'll disguise myself and be ready to go.
There's a ditch right here, your majesty. Step carefully. We're almost through the enemy lines, your majesty. Just a few more yards, and we'll be safe.
Is this it?
The entrance to the cave is just ahead of us, behind those bushes. Want me to go ahead and seek entrance?
Certainly not. I don't want to give any clue that I'm Saul. Now remember, I'm just an ordinary man.
Yes, your majesty.
Don't call me your majesty.
Yes, sir.
Come on, then. Let's go. Now, what shall I do?
Well, call out, I guess.
Hello. Hello in there. May we come in?
Who are you?
We are three men from the south.
What do you want?
We come bearing a request of Her Highness.
You wish to see the all-knowing wizard of Endor?
Yes, sir.
Step into the cave. Turn to your left.
It isn't very light in here.
What?
I am the sorceress of Endor. You are sore perplexed. Cross my palm with gifts, and you shall have an answer of peace. Oh, yes, these are rich gifts. I perceive that you are not ordinary soldiers.
Divine for me by a spirit, and bring up for me whomever I shall name to you.
Dear and familiar spirits, me? Surely you know what King Saul has done, how he has cut off the mediums and the wizards from the land. Why then are you laying a snare for my life to bring about my death?
Have no fear. As the Lord lives, no punishment shall come upon you for this thing.
Whom shall I bring up?
Bring up Samuel for me.
Samuel?
Samuel the prophet. He died quite some time ago. I've got to see him. Talk to him.
Why have you deceived me? You are not a common soldier. You are Saul, the king.
Fear not, madame. You shall not be harmed. Only bring up Samuel for me. Did you see something?
I did.
What did you see?
I see a god coming up out of the earth.
What is his appearance?
Perhaps an old man is coming up. He is wrapped in a robe.
It must be Samuel. I shall bow before him.
Arise from thy knees, Saul.
Oh, Samuel, are you truly Samuel?
Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up?
I'm in great distress, for the Philistines are warring against me, and God has turned away from me and answers me no more, either by prophets or by dreams. Therefore I have summoned you to tell me what I shall do.
Why then do you ask me? Since the Lord has turned from you and become your enemy. The Lord has done to you as he has spoken. For the Lord has torn the kingdom out of your hand and given it to your neighbor, David.
Tell me, is there no hope of winning the war on the morrow against the Philistines?
The Lord will give Israel, also with you, into the hand of the Philistines. Moreover, tomorrow thou and thy sons shall be with me.
Tomorrow I die?
His Majesty fell to the ground as if dead.
He's not dead, for he is still breathing. He has only fainted, but take him out of here.
He could have fainted. He's eaten nothing today or this night.
He has eaten nothing.
Your Majesty, can you hear me? He's coming to.
Behold, O king, I have taken my life in my hand and have hearkened to what you have said to me. Now you also hearken to me. Let me set a morsel of bread before you, and eat that you may have strength when you go on your way.
No, I will not eat.
But you've got to, Your Majesty. There's a war to be fought tomorrow. Much preparation has to be made, and you must eat so you'll have strength. You must eat.
All right, a little.
Help the king onto this bed while I go prepare meat for him.
Oh, yes. Tomorrow I die. Die! Fresh air again. I feel better now, Abner. Let's go.
Should we help you, Your Majesty?
No, I'll get back on my own. I am king. King, do you understand? King!
Yes, Your Majesty.
All right, then. Let's go.
We must be careful, Your Majesty, that we are not seen or heard by an enemy sentry. We're still in enemy territory.
It makes no difference. Tomorrow I die anyway.
Oh, certainly you don't believe what that witch said to you, Your Majesty. She's nothing but an impostor.
Tomorrow I die, Abner. Tomorrow Satan will exercise his power of death. A power I permitted him to have over me through my obedience to his will instead of the will of God. Tomorrow there comes an end to a life that could have been filled with great success if only...
But, Your Majesty, maybe she was wrong. One can't be sure.
No, she was right. I chose to forsake God. I was warned, pled with, exhorted, but I would not listen. Tomorrow I pay the penalty of sin and disobedience.
Ah, it's a beautiful morning. Cheer up, Your Majesty. All is not yet lost.
Oh, for me it is. Forever lost, Abner.
But there is a battle to be won, Your Majesty. The men are ready and waiting your command to march.
Yes.
For their sake, cheer up.
Yes, for their sake I must bear up. For the sake of the men. All right, Abner.
Men of Israel, your king, the king chosen by all Israel to lead her armies to victory, wishes to speak to you.
Men of Israel, today we face the mighty foe, the Philistines. I call upon you to acquit yourselves like men. Be brave, courageous, fight the battle of the living God of... Be strong, be valiant, and... All right, General, all right. Give the command to go forward.
Yes, Your Majesty.
On the plains of Shunem and the slopes of Mount Gilboa, the armies of Israel and the host of the Philistines closed in mortal combat. Though the fearful scene in the cave of Endor had driven all hope from his heart, Saul fought with desperate valor for his throne and his kingdom.
Abner!
Yes, Your Majesty.
How is the battle going?
We're losing to the enemy, Your Majesty. Many of our men are falling in battle. Others are fleeing before the Philistines, and...
What about my sons, Abner? Jonathan, Abinadab, Melchizedek.
Your Majesty, word has just come. All three of them have fallen before the archers, but they died gloriously for their country and their king.
My sons, all of them dead. All because
Your Majesty, I shall go now and endeavor to rally our forces for a last-ditch stand.
By all means, Abner.
Long live the king!
Oh, how foolish I have been. Would that I could live over all the... Oh, but I can't. It's too late for that.
Now the battle pressed hard upon Saul, and the archers found him.
Armor bearer! Armor bearer!
Yes, Your Majesty.
I have been wounded by an arrow. Disabled.
I'll call for help, Your Majesty. Have you surrounded with a guard of soldiers?
No, it's too late. There's no use. Armor bearer, draw your sword and run me through with it.
No, Your Majesty, I cannot kill my king.
That is a command. Run me through, lest the Philistines find me and make sport of me.
Your Majesty, I will not do this evil to my king.
Refuse my command, will you? All right, then. I shall take my own sword and fall upon it. Ah! Oh!
Your Majesty, you fell on your own sword.
And Saul's armor-bearer took his own sword and fell upon it, and he too died with Saul. Thus the first king of Israel perished with the guilt of self-murder upon his soul. His life had been a failure, and he went down in dishonor and despair. Holy Scripture says, "So Saul died for his unfaithfulness. He was unfaithful to the Lord in that he did not keep the command of the Lord, and also consulted a medium, seeking guidance, and did not seek guidance from the Lord."